Alright, so I'm going to recap my states and how I went. So, yeah, the Vic State Champs 2023, they were held on Saturday, June 17th at... Oh, I need to fix my overlay and get my picture out of the way. There we go, that's a bit better. Alright, so, yeah, it was just over a week ago now. So yeah, it was held at a gaming bar in the city of Melbourne, which is my hometown. And yeah, the format was 3 rounds of sort of qualifiers, if you like, rounds, and then a final table. So the format they were playing was roughly Swiss brackets, which means if you win your first game, you verse winners in the second round, and if you win in the second round, you verse winners in the third round, which I think is quite a good way to do it because it means if you're doing badly, you get an easier table, whereas if you're doing well, you get harder tables, which I think makes sense to a degree, but I'll talk about that in a bit. And the format, probably one interesting point is the maximum was 10 points per win, which I have no issue with if it's 10 points maximum or if you can get to 11 or 12, as long as they state the rules. I think it's fair for everybody. All right, so, oh man, how I was feeling going into it. First of all, I was very nervous because I didn't know what the quality of the games was going to be like. And I hadn't played a lot of physical Catan with actual cards. I've played probably a couple hundred games in Colonist, but I played one game before that with cards, so that was sort of a new experience for me. I was definitely excited. I was ready to go there and have some fun and have a few drinks and have a few laughs, and yeah, that was definitely achieved. I said ambitious here. I wasn't overly ambitious. I think my goal was just to win one game, and if I could win one game and sort of finish on something like 26, 27, 28, I would have been pretty happy. And finally, catless. I could not bring my cats, and usually I'm playing Catan with my cats. So that was, I mean, as you can see up here from this fellow, he's usually my buddy and telling me what to do. So it was a different experience. All right, so round one. Here is a selfie of the first table. Uh, I got the first pick on this board. I'll go into that, but yeah, the people were just amazingly friendly, just wonderful people. So that was a fantastic board, and one of them had their kid with them, so she was trying to keep her kid asleep while playing, which was really cute. All right, so this was the board for round one. I'm sorry for the picture quality. I know some of these shiny bits are a bit hard to see. So like this bottom left port here, this is the ore port, I believe. Um, so my initial thoughts on this board when we sat down was pretty low brick and pretty low wheat. So I think this 8-5-10 down the bottom is a massive pick. I think this 8-4-3 up the top is really, really good. And then after that, the spots become much less obvious. I think the 6-3-11 up to the 4-11 is not bad just because the wheat's kind of garbage. I think this 8-4-3 is also a good spot. So yeah, I got first pick. So my plan was take this 8-5-10 and just see what I got on the way back. Did I put that slide? I did. All right, so yeah, I got this 8-5-10. I got this 8-4-3 on the way back. So 8-5-10. Second took 6-5-11. Third took 8-4-3. Fourth took 8-5-10, 6-9-2. And then, yeah, third pick got the 6-11-12 on the way back with the starting road. Second pick got 9-10-11. So they kind of got trapped in the middle of the board. And then I got this 8-4-3. So I had the side by side, which was really, really crazy on this board. My ports weren't so good with just the sheep port here, but my plan was get on this 9-4, and then I was going to take the sheep port, but since this 3-1 over on the right hand side was uncontested, that was very, very valuable for me. So the significant plays I got on this 9-4 early, and then I built a couple of roads over here to take the 3-1 port, which when you've got that much production is a huge deal. Hey, Kelly! Just in time, my friend. Thank you for the raid. I'm just going through my state championships recap, so perfect timing, my friend. Kelly C raid. Yo yo yo. Thank you so much, my friend. How was your I saw you were commentating earlier. How'd the game finish up? We'll make a bit of Yeah, it looked like a good game. I probably should have stayed and watched rather than I played a ranked game and it was just toxic. Oh man. Not a bad Premier League game. Ah, good to hear. Yeah, I played a super toxic ladder game. It was just like, even when the guy had the win in hand, he just had to sit there running the clock down and talking smack to people before he placed his settlement. It's like, dude, come on, just call it, man. Oh, that's good. Anyway, you've joined just in time for the round one recap. So I was just going over the placements. So I got the first pick on this board. I played as white, and I got this 8-5-10, and then 8-4-3 on the way back, which was a really nutty setup. Uh, I think no one taking this 8-4-3 was a big advantage for me because yeah, that's a really ridiculous spot. It gets you on the only good brick on the board apart from this 9, and you've also got control of the best wheat, so that was super good. Alright, so yeah, I settled the 9-4, built a couple of roads and got this 3-1 port. I was able to get a lot of wheat for ore trades because most of the players were overproducing ore and underproducing wheat, so that was good. And then, yeah, pulled a victory point, which helped. And I also managed to get a wheat for 2 ore trade at some point with the orange, who didn't want to use their 3-1 port. They wanted to be efficient, but I think that was a little bit too generous. All right, so the results. I managed to win this game. So my win was longest road, 1 victory point, 2 cities, and 3 settles. So blue was very kind of broke all game, didn't have a lot of resources, so they didn't connect road. They were trying to get more settle spots, but yeah, not connecting meant I was able to steal road in the last turn. But to be honest, with the pace of this game, I think I could have probably road settled twice and won it anyway because no one was close to getting army either. So yeah, first round, my thoughts. I thought it was a really fun game. I think the other players were not like big kind of competitive ladder grinding players like me. They were more kind of family board game night players, I think it's fair to say. Sorry, one sec. I think first pick on this board was a massive advantage because this 8-5-10 on the good brick and the good wheat was super strong. Uh, yeah, I was able to get a lot of wheat for ore trades, which was good. Really helped me get these cities up and also pull a couple of dev cards. And then finally, as I said, I think I probably could have just built 2 more road settles. I didn't particularly need to take road, but it was just easier given that blue was not able to connect. All right, so that was it for round 1. That was a really good game and a good start, winning your first game. So round 2, kind of similar board in some ways. Another massive 8-5-10 down the bottom here. I think that gets you the best brick by a mile, and it also gets you on strong wheat, so that's always nice. On this board, there's quite a bit more wheat, and there's a decent amount of sheep, and there's some more. So yeah, 6-5-9 also a really good spot for sure. So I think first pick probably goes 8-5-10, second pick goes 6-5-9, third pick is not immediately obvious. Maybe 6-9-3. But how the board ended up placing was like this. I got a photo of this one. So I played as white on this board. So I'm pretty sure red placed first and took the 6-5-9. Orange placed second, I think, and took the 8-5-10. And then, no, actually, I think blue placed second and took this 8-5-10, which I think was a misplay. Third took this 8-5-10, which I think was correct. And then there wasn't a huge amount left for me to do other than play all wheat sheep on this at this point. So I took 6-9-3, 6-3-11, which is not a bad setup at all. It gets me all 5 resources, gets me the linked 6s, which is a big deal. And it gets me the starting road too, so I was able to get this 411 pretty quickly, which just upped my wood production. And wood was it's somewhat tradable on this board. I think blue definitely needs wood, so increasing that and getting on the brick port just for a little bit of flexibility was nice. So yeah, I had a strong all-wheat sheep set up on this board with the linked 6s and the 9 sheep. That's pretty good, but I only have one of each spot, and my ports weren't amazing. Like this brick ports, yeah, the 11 brick. That's the hidden buff. That's right. The hidden buff of the 11 brick. Do I have that emote? No, I don't. What am I doing? Callie, if you can post that emote, there it is. I should. It's the follower emote. I don't know. I suck at this keyboard. Anyway, you've posted it there, so thank you. The 11 brick, OP, and then doubling up on it. Oh baby. So yeah, the plan was obviously playing army this game, linked 6s, try and city up this 6-3-11 early, get on this 4-11, and then take the wheat port. uh, ooh, tier 3. Oh man, I'll have to get my wallet out for that one. So, how did this game play out? Significant plays, few 6s rolled early, so I got this city up very quickly. The red player managed to get this plow down, and then they also took army pretty early on in the sort of early to mid game, and they also got this 10-3-11 settle, so they were looking good. They had army, they had a city up here, and they had a bit of a road network going. They didn't have any brick, but apart from that, they were looking quite strong. So them taking army made them a big target, and it meant my 6 ore was getting blocked a bit, but it also meant this 10 wheat was getting blocked rather than this 6 wheat getting soloed, which was nice. And then while they took army, they were trying to use their road builder to connect, and that's where all their resources were going. And while they were doing that, I was just kind of popping dev cards, but not in the lead. So I was pacing quite well this game. And then as I was trying to pull knights and take army off red, I also managed to pull both monopolies, so that's always pretty good. The first one, I was about to take army, so I played the mono and sucked up all the wheat so no one else could buy any devs and contest. And then the second one, I've got the brick monopoly and managed to take road. So it's a bit hard to see from this board, but yeah, I ended up playing 4 knights, 2 monopolies, and had a VP, and then I had road and army. So I citied up this 6-3-11, settled the brick port. I don't think I built another city actually, but yeah, with the double play, that was enough points. So I finished on 11 for this round, but it capped out at 10, so it didn't count for anything. But yeah, managed to steal road, given that everyone's road networks were a bit weak. And yeah, because orange and blue kind of placed their settles far apart, they didn't have a chance, and red didn't have any brick to actually build any decent roads, so that was nice. So yeah, at this point I was 2-0, feeling pretty good. I had already massively surpassed what I was hoping to do. And there was a big blunder in this game, actually. I am not used to playing with physical cards, so at one point I forgot to pick up the cards that I just got from my rolls. And because of that, I could have bought like another dev that turn, and that would have been big. And then I strutting around like I own the place. Oh yeah, I was Conor McGregor up in that place after that. So yeah, picking up your cards is a big part of playing a physical card game. So I didn't pick them up. I didn't buy the dev. I 7'd out and lost those cards. So it was just a comedy of errors. So that was delightful. My thoughts on that game? Yeah, that was definitely much more competitive. That happens. Never point out someone else misses to pick up cards. Yeah, I also was not like I was buying devs and then I wasn't reading them, and then I was like, what the like? I would look at my devs. I'm like, I got like the Monopoly. Oh, that's pretty good. Yeah, being the banker, I think being the banker in a physical game is quite good because I think it also makes it easier to track because you're physically handing out people's cards to them. I think that sort of embeds in your brain who is getting what, and it also means you're less likely to not pick up your own cards. I think so. Yeah, I think that's quite a smart move as being the banker. I think it makes it easier to track. So this was a much more competitive game, particularly the red player and the orange player were both quite competitive, I thought. The blue player, I had just beaten his girlfriend in the previous table, and then I beat him. So she came over. She was like, "Who won?" And he was like, "Oh, that guy." Like, "Ah, yeah, okay." So I'd beaten both of them. That was pretty funny. So in the gameplay, yeah, a few sixes rolled early, and I got this city up. That was really nice. I managed to pace really well. I think red taking army early, and then I knew their last dev card was probably a road builder because they looked like they were trying to connect road. And because of that, they kind of stalled out, and I was able to overtake them for army while everyone was kind of robbing them. So that was really good. Pulling both monopolies, obviously massive. As I said, I forgot to pick up my cards, and then I sevened out, so that was pretty dumb. And yeah, at the end, playing with physical cards, you need to read your devs, and you need to keep in mind what you've got. You also need to track how many points you're on and how many points other people are on. My final dot point here, I'm used to colonists serving me up all this information. And then when you play a physical game, you actually need to figure out, hey, I'm on like 6, hey, I'm on 7, whatever it is. How far off am I winning? How far off are other people for winning? And all of this information is not served up to you if you are playing a physical game. You have to track it yourself. So that's one of the other differences playing physical as opposed to colonist is you actually need to track how many points everybody's on. All right, so heading into round 3, I took a photo of me because I was on the winners table. One of the tables was like cameraed up, and I'm sure you can see me here in my amazing duck jumper. So yeah, the winners of the first 2 rounds got put on table 16, which had all the cameras and stuff. So that was pretty cool. I got to take this hilarious photo, so I like that. Thoughts on this board? Thought number 1, this is a trash board for 4th pick. So just looking at it, this 8-5-10 up the top is just a monstrous spot. This 8-5-10, very good. This 6-5-9, very good. And then as 4th, I would want to do something like 8-4-3-6-9-2. Probably play off this 3-1 port and probably try and get on this 9-4 if you could. But there's a few thoughts before that. Yeah, number 1, did not want 4th. I think 4th, this is a kind of crap board for 4th. There was 3 players on this table who were 2-0, and then there was 1 player who was 1-0 on 19 points. So how they figured out that, I don't know, because there was a total of 4 players who had won 2 games at this point. So we think it was just an error. I don't think it was deliberate, but it made for a pretty unfair set of circumstances where the 3 players who were 2-0 had kind of been punished with a hard table. And then this poor other player on 1-0, who was also a very good player, also got punished with a really, really difficult table. And if they don't win that game, they are out. So I think that was probably just an oversight or an error. And then, yeah, the champ from the previous year was on this table. And he was a very good player, which we will get to. So the placements were horrible. First pick took 6-5-9. I think this was a huge misplay. That left second pick with this 8-5-10 up the top, which in my opinion is by far the strongest spot on the board. You've got this 3-1, which is really hard to contest. You get the best all-wheat sheep. Yeah, the 6-5-9 is okay, but just the city quality and the outs I think are pretty lame for that. So I definitely would have taken the 8-5-10. And then your outs are 8-10, even 4-11. Pretty much anything's a decent out to that. So, yeah, third pick, also probably the most significant move in placements was third taking this 8-5-4 over this 8-5-10. This locked the 8-4-3 that I wanted. And because of that, I got stuck with absolute garbage. So I ended up taking 8 4, 3, 6, 11, 12. So my plan was try and get on the strong wheat and trade that for sheep and brick. I got the starting road. I was hoping to get an early city on this 6, 11, 12. And I was also hoping to settle this 9, 12 early and fight for army, which I was not really able to do due to my weak road building. So, significant players. Yeah, I did get the city. Oh, I drew that road in the wrong direction. That was going this way. I did get the city on the 6, 11, 12 early, which was good. It upped my ore production to match my wheat. After that, I got monopolied and lost 5 ore while I was like 1 wheat roll off my second city. That really hurt. And then, yeah, I took forever. Like I said, this road's in the wrong direction. So I had the starting road onto the 912, but just getting that settlement took forever. It was so painful. Just every time I got close, either something would get stolen or, yeah, it was pretty rough. And surely Blue did not win. I assume that's a hilarious joke, BCG. Yeah, so I just wasn't really able to do anything without this 912 settle. And these ports were garbage. This was the sheep port. This was the brick port. This was the wood port, which was somewhat serviceable on the 3 and the 11. Well, no, this was the wood port. I can't even remember what the ports were, but none of them were useful for me. I really wanted a 3 to 1, which I did not get on. So, and yeah, the fact that the 4s, the 5s, and the 12s were either blocked or not rolling the whole game really hurt all of the non-OWS players. I was an OWS player, but I needed to get on this 912 to do anything, and I didn't manage to pull that off. Hey, thank you for the follow, the Emilks. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it, my friend. Alrighty. So significant misplays, and these were from me, and these first two go together very much so. So my first city went on the 6, 11, 12, and I kind of wanted to up my brick and up my wood a little bit and up my ore to match my wheat. But during the game, I was kind of working with white, and if I look at white's setup, they overproduce brick, they overproduce sheep, and they overproduce ore. The things they underproduce is wood and wheat. So what I should have done, I should have talked to them when I was building my first city and said, look, we need to work together because blue has this monstrous setup and red almost guarantees has road in this game due to having the 2 best brick and the 2 best wood spots. So what I should have done is said, I will, instead of citying this ore spot to get my ore production up, which I need, what I'll do is I'll city this 843 over here. So this would get my wood up. It would get my wheat up massively. And then I should be able to trade some of this excess wheat and this excess wood to the white player for their sheep, their ore, and their brick. And that would really help us both because they took forever to get this 910 settle for the same reasons I couldn't settle. No one had any brick. So if I had been overproducing wheat and trading with them for ore and sheep, I think it would have helped us both a lot more than me just sitting up this 6, 11, 12. And this also meant this city, when this 6 ore is blocked, which it's going to be a big target, it's got 2 players on it with lots of production, then the city's doing almost nothing. It's 3 points of production. And blue is the army player, so they're not going to be blocking this 8 wheat either. So that was a huge misplay, I think. And that's probably a bit of inexperience. I think playing in person, you can make these kind of deals, whereas playing on Colonist, at least in ranked, you definitely couldn't. In a proper tournament, you probably could, because people communicate a bit more. But yeah, I think that was just inexperience. And I think if I had have done that, I would have got at least 1 more point that game, maybe 2, because should you always force trading with other players instead of trading 4 to 1 with the bank? That's a good question. Sometimes it's correct to 4 for 1. And sometimes if there's a board where there's just a lot of, like, say, sheep, which is kind of hard to use, you're just going to have to 4 for 1 it at some point because nobody wants your sheep if they're all producing it as well. So sometimes it's correct to 4 for 1, but usually you want to be a bit more efficient than that. and you want to be trading your cards 1 for 1 or sometimes 2 for 1 if it makes sense. And you also want to be trading with players who are not kind of crushing the rest of the board. Like, I don't want to be giving my ore to the blue player who's on the strong ore wheat sheep. That's bad. You're better off 4 for 1ing than giving this player like 2 ore for one of their resources. So sometimes it's correct, sometimes it's not. Uh, and yeah, given this was the final round, I probably took a somewhat risky setup. I think 8-4-3. I think first of all, to reduce my risk, I probably should have pointed this road to the coast and opened up 2 settle spots just to try and guarantee some more points. But I wanted to get on the sheep port and then try and sort of connect road around here, even though taking road against red was always going to be impossible. And then I could have also, there was a few more setups. I'm not sure what was better here. So if I just go back to this slide, I mean, I took 8-4-3, 6-11-12. I could have taken 8-4-3 and then 8-10 on the wheat port to punish red for pointing their road right. 8-10 to 8-3. If I get that 8-3, I'm on all 4 wheat spots. And I can potentially get the sheep spot as well, the sheep port. So that was one other setup. There was a few others out there probably. Yeah. I'm not really sure. I don't think my setup was bad, given that I kind of got stooged without getting this 8-4-3. But yeah, it was definitely this 8-5-4 pick really hurt me, and it also hurt red a lot because they were super slow to get anything going because they had no wheat, and I didn't want to give them wheat. So yeah, it was a horrible board after that 8-5-4 win. If I get that 8-4-3-6-9-2, that's totally playable position, but this was just garbage. So uh, anyway, what ended up happening? I ended up on 6 points. I don't think I got a photo, but basically I had a city on this 6-11-12. I had a settle here. But I say that wheat is all around the strongest resource. In general, I would say that ore is the most valuable resource, followed by wheat. But I would also say that's very relative to the board. So if there's a board with like, I don't know, like 15 to 20 points of wood production and there's like 5 points of brick, and if you can get on the strong bricks tile, you have a lot of power in that game. So it's very relative, I would say. But in general, I would rank ore slightly at the top ahead of wheat, and then wood and brick, and then I would say sheep is the weakest. But every board, as a starting point, count up the number of dots of each resource, see which ones are rare, and those ones are generally going to be more valuable. Alright, so I ended up on 6. I couldn't even get this second city due to the brutal mono taking 5 ore, and then the blue player was just hammering this 6 ore tile, so white and I just couldn't buy devs, we couldn't move it off, we couldn't do anything. And he had the wood port, I had no useful ports, we just couldn't get anything going, so me and white just ended up having a very miserable game. Again, if I'd cited this 8-4-3, it might have gone a bit different. And if I had pointed this road towards the coast and gotten 2 settle spots open to me, I might have been able to get to 7. So, yeah, in the end, I ended up 2-1 on a total of 26 victory points. I was 1 point short of the final table, which hurt by a lot because I know that because someone on this board ended up on 7, which was a red player, and he did make the final. And my victory point percentage in the first 2 games was insane, so I definitely would have gotten in if they got in. So yeah, it was a bit disappointing after I got to that 2-0 scoreline to not make the final, but at the same time, my goal was to win 1 game, and I won 2, so that was already better. What I learned. So first of all, I've had a lot of fun, and I think even though this was like a championship, it doesn't mean every player there is like a competitive, ladder grinding, very serious player. So there was a lot of people who were just there who kind of played board games with their friends and there to have a bit of fun. And I think the scene is just great and people are really nice and there was no one being really kind of toxic or anything. Everyone was very polite, very nice to each other. So it was just a really nice environment and I had a lot of fun. Crush the noobs, absolutely. Well, that was yeah. I think probably most of the players who play ladder on any given table, at least in Victoria. I think on any of those given tables, anyone who plays a lot of ladder and colonists would have won their first round. Lesson number 2, when playing with physical cards, you need to read and manage your cards very carefully. So I wasn't paying enough attention to my dev cards. I also was probably, yeah, I have one blunder where I didn't pick up my resource cards, and I also wasn't tracking. I had a lot of trouble tracking, and I realized how much I rely on the panel in Colonist that tells you, uh, yeah, it is a different UI. Playing in real life, it's a very different user interface. So yeah, when you don't have that bar where you can scroll up and see what rolled and see who's got what in their hand, tracking is a different beast. And on top of that, I didn't read that I had the monopoly, so I wasn't paying extra attention to who had what. So that was a bit of a fail, but managed to get away with it in game 2, so that was funny. Number 3, at least in this tournament, this may not be general, but I would say people buy less dev cards, so I think army strategies are quite strong. And on top of that, I don't think people value devs the same way they do in Colonist, where the rule of thumb is one dev card, treat it as one victory point. So if someone's on 3 points with 2 devs, they are quote unquote 5 points. I don't think people treat it the same, at least that wasn't my experience in this tournament. I think people with strong all eat sheep setups were not getting punished the way that they really needed to in order to stop that player from running away with the game. So I think in person, try playing army. I think it's a bit easier than playing road because road is much more volatile. Number 4, should have talked to other players on the table in round 4 and made trade relationships. So that's what I was talking about earlier with the white player. I definitely should have talked to them at the start of the game. And this also ties to point 5. I should have table talked more, but due to this being my first competition, I was a bit hesitant to do that because I didn't know how it would be perceived. But I think when the blue player has the 8-5-10 all wheat sheep and they're just going to crush us with army, I think I need to really be aggressive and just say, look, guys, like the 3 of us have got to work together. We need to keep the 5 all blocked for the whole game, and we need to shut this player down. Otherwise, they're just going to smash us. Sorry. Overall, I think the tournament was great. I think the way they did it, where if you won your first game, you get put on a table with other winners, I think that was fantastic. For the third round, I don't think it made sense. I think having 3 players on a table who were 2-0 and having the final 2-0 player on a much easier table was a little bit unfair. It punished the 3 of us. It punished the other player who was 1-1 and who had to win to get to the final. And I think at that point, you do the Swiss brackets for the first 2 rounds, and then I think round 3 you split up the 4 players who are 2-0. Otherwise, your final table is just going to be almost a copy of the table of winners from round 3. So I think that would have been better in round 3. Split up the 4 2-0 players, and yeah, I think that would have been better. Did anyone try to fish for free information regarding everyone's resources? I don't think there was a lot of that going on, sort of asking for trades, and I didn't see any dirty monopolies either, but I think a couple of them did happen. But no, I don't think anyone was really at that stage where they were trying to play that optimally and figure out what's in everyone's hand with trades, and I don't think the tracking was all that strong. So yeah, I would say the final table was like the guy who won it was the champ. He ended up going 4-0 in the tournament, and he was the one who won it the previous year too. He was a very good player. He was the one who played in blue. Dirty Mono IRL is how you make enemies. Tracking is far weaker. Yeah, in real life it's much harder to track. Yeah, Dirty Monos would definitely make you enemies for sure. I wouldn't do one early on in the game. But late in the game, when everyone's kind of on 6-7 points and you get near the end, I mean, why not? If you are willing to play that way, I don't think it's a bad strategy. Yeah, so I think it was, the format punished the 2-0 players a little bit in the third round, I think. I think if I had have lost in the second round and then got an easier table in the third round, I would have been better off. But having said that, the guy who beat me won the tournament, and good chance he would have beaten me in the last final anyways. He was a very, very good player. So if I pretend that that round 3 game was the final, which had 3 of the strongest players in the tournament, I didn't find a way to win that game. I lost, so it doesn't matter. I don't think I would have won anyway. But overall, I had a heap of fun. I'll definitely go back next year, and yeah, I learned a lot. I learned a lot about playing the physical game. I learned that there's a lot more casual players out there who only play the board game, who don't play online. So that's different to the scene that I'm used to. So it was amazing to just get a bit of exposure to that. Thought you got a Discord message. Yeah, sorry, that was me. um, and yeah, I think that's really it. I've gone through the 3 rounds. I got really close to the final, was 1 point short, and I think I picked up a lot about what I can do better next year. So final slide. Any questions from the chat other than what's already been asked? And while we're here, somebody is very, very sleepy. Say hello, Rumple. No, he's not going to say hello. He's having a big nap. All right. Well, that's it for me. I've got a few kind of funny GoPro recordings. Can we go play Colonist? You may indeed. I won't be playing Colonist. I have to go play Work, which is my least favorite game. But I will be playing a bit more tomorrow morning. But yeah, I just wanted to finally do this recap that I wanted to do last week before I got the Black Death. So, all right, I think that's it. So thanks again, Callie, for the raid. Thank you so much. Thanks everyone for watching and for chiming in with questions and stuff. That made it a lot more interactive, so I really appreciate that. And yeah, thanks for sticking with me. Work, worst rated game. Yeah, can confirm. I would probably give it 2 stars. That's that's a pretty lame game. Alright, I'm gonna wrap it up there. One more shot of the cat. I would get Skippy, but I think he's upstairs. Say goodbye, Rumple. Rumpy. Nah, he's very, very fast asleep. So many toxic players at work. Well, my work, they're not too bad, but I probably have a luckier job than most. I get along quite well with my co-workers. Alright, that's a wrap. So thanks again everyone for watching, and I will catch you all when I catch you next. See ya!